So the front cover, so the thumbnail to this video is the front cover of Paul Sykes's. It's not a biography. I suppose it's some kind of biographical piece, but essentially it's written from 19. So it covers March 77 to June 79. Over a period basically of kind of covering his boxing career in the late 70s. If I would have never have read that book, I've released 22 books, got 4 finished, on with writing another one. How many is that? So I'm going to do at least 27 if I, die this year or something. And if I'd have never have read Sweet Agony, I would never have done one. I repeat, I would never ever have thought of getting into writing. I think many of you who've read the book, so when you watch the documentary, so that was filmed 88, 89. It was out in December 1990. So when you watch a documentary, you kind of want to know more. So then you kind of read the book, and then you're a little bit disappointed because when I first kind of come across the name Paul Sykes, I knew he died, but I didn't quite understand from watching that documentary in 1990 to his rather brutal demise on the streets of Wakefield in 17 years. You just don't understand how a figure of such strength can go to, you can Google and read the stories to kind of cutting a pretty pathetic figure in the end. And so when you read the book, you're not really enlightened anyway. So I kind of watched the documentary, read that book. I read it twice. Didn't think much of it the first time, but the second time, so I read it 2012, very disappointed, and then I actually lent it off Paul's sister again. I read it 2015, and then I appreciated it for what it was. But I kind of wanted to know. So Paul done Sweet Agony, and then of course I followed up with Sykes' Unfinished Agony, and then there's a following one which was Further Agony, and then of course there was Final Agony. Western Edge Pictures have the script is done from them 4 books. Probably 3 books really. Paul's is, because the film starts in 1989 and ends in 2007. His book it's not going to really offer a great deal, obviously purely down to time. But that book, I've often described it as reading a book, taking it in, and then walking inside the story, walking inside the book, and meeting all kinds of characters. There's a lot of them are no longer here now. I did interviews with David Dunford, who's no longer here. Ronnie Trelfall. Sadly, John Spenceley. He passed away not long back. I kind of met a lot of other. Obviously, I'm going to be doing Michael Showers, releasing his book this year. Delroy Showers gets a hell of a lot of mentions in Sweet Agony. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, so Paul had 3 wives. I become very close to one of them. Went and stayed with her a couple of times. Lovely, lovely woman. So, I kind of, as I said, I've often kind of described it as walking in to and Tony Spenceley, he runs a Dickens Inn. He's mentioned lots of other names as well, like John Conte. I've spoke to. So as I said, if I would never have read that book, I would have never done one. The front cover, the jacket design is basically Paul Sykes in the city of the best little city on earth, as he calls it. So the jacket design is in the centre of Wakefield, and if you look closely on the pictures, you can see like it's basically everyone in life he's running away from. So there's women on that picture, court judges, police officers, police dogs. Yeah, you know, you've got to remember Barman and Man, when he wrote that book, he'd spent over, I'm just trying to think, so he went away probably 17 and come out 30. So 13 years, isn't it? 13 years of kind of mayhem, chaos, and all kinds of carnage, which you know, the city of Wakefield will never ever forget. But let us know your comments. As I said, I was very, very disappointed when I read that book for the first time. And I read it 3 years later on, and then I appreciate it for what it is. I've got to admit, I do have to admit, there's a lot of inaccuracies, a lot of blatant lies, I think, as well. You know, one story I interviewed one of Paul's partners, you know, in Sweet Agony, he says, oh, you know, she turned up with a knife inside prison and all that, and I spoke to her and she said absolute utter nonsense. And this is done in prison as well, you know, when it's alleged to have took place, and it just doesn't happen. You just don't take knives inside prison, not prison, Durham prison of all places. I spoke to another lady as well, Janet Sellers, lovely lady. So in the book, Paul talks about Janet having a crush on him. And I interviewed Janet for further Agony, and she said it was utter nonsense. You know, so I can understand that he's kind of made it, you know, you can, how can I put it, embellish the truth, shall we say. But it is a riveting little read, very gripping. He captures a lot of things, you know, emotions, smells, back in time, and there's a lot of I think maybe he probably tries to be a little bit too philosophical. You know, he kind of adds detail on top of detail when I didn't think that was necessary. It actually won an award, albeit a prison award. You know, if you can imagine, there's not that many Britons inside prison. So, yeah, I spoke to the governor a couple of years back, and they said we just basically give him that award to keep him quiet, basically. I think he won something like £15, which I suppose was a lot of money back in the 80s. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Sweet Agony. I covered it: Unfinished Agony, Further Agony, and Final Agony. So there's the Agony series. You can get them all on Amazon, and I will put the link in the bio. Let us know your thoughts, guys.